Okay, my name is Michael Kinsey. I'm a PhD student in the Fire Safety Engineering Group at the University of Greenwich. I'm also one of the co-founders and co-developers of the evacmod.net evacuation modelling portal. Before I begin, I'd like to thank my co-authors and supervisors, Professor Ed Gallia and Dr. Peter Lawrence. In this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about lift evacuation, context and history, and some of the challenges I think we face with regards to using lifts during evacuations. I'll then describe the online survey which we've conducted to try and understand some of the human factors which we've just mentioned. I'll give a brief overview of the participant demographics and a very brief overview of the results we've obtained. I'll give a summary, talk a little bit about some of the limitations and future work. So I think we're all reasonably familiar with the potential benefits of using lifts during evacuations. Indeed, a number of high-rise buildings throughout the world already use lifts as part of their non-fire or fire evacuations. It's also interesting to note that many hospitals also use lifts to transport bedridden patients outside of the hospitals. Lifts have successfully been used during real evacuations, but perhaps more importantly, lifts have also unsuccessfully been used or caused problems during real evacuations. And I think it's important to remember these. Essentially, there are three main issues with regards to using lifts during evacuations. They are the physical issues. How can we make the physical components of not only the lift system, but the surrounding area safe so that people can actually use the lifts? And this isn't just regarding the lift itself, but making the lobbies safe so that people can wait for the lifts. Operational issues. How can we efficiently utilise lifts to get people out the building or to a place of refuge? And then there are human factors issues. How are people going to behave given that they have the option to use a lift? And we've been telling them for the past 30 or so years not to use lifts. And this area has received little attention to date. And it's something which we're trying to make progress in the current study. So, in an attempt to better understand and quantify some of the human factors associated with lift usage, we decided to conduct an online survey posing a series of hypothetical evacuation situations, in addition to a series of circulation situations. We decided that circulation was an important factor to consider, not only for general understanding, but also for the basis of comparison with our evacuation scenarios. The survey was designed to explore a variety of different factors, some of which are listed here. We had two translations of the survey, one in English and one in Chinese. We decided that being as China is an emerging market for high-rise buildings, having 6 of the world's 10 tallest buildings at the end of 2009, we thought it was an appropriate language to compare the results with other countries. So, in total, we had 468 participants take part in the survey, coming from 23 different countries. Having said this, approximately 90% of the participants came from just 6 countries, with the majority coming from either the UK or China. We had about 61% males. Over half the participants were aged over the age of 30. Just over half were considered normal in weight, according to the World Health Organization Body Mass Index system. And about a quarter of participants were either students from the fire safety profession or from the lift profession. This means that almost 3/4 of the participants were either from another profession or were non-specific about their profession. Just over 2/3 of the participants had a lift in their place of work, study or residence. So our participant base is quite broad and come from a variety of different backgrounds and different physical characteristics. So the first 3 sections of the survey looked at 3 different circulation scenarios, looking at the influence of distance, queues and groups. And in each of these sections, participants were given a common piece of information, which you can see in the green box here. In each section, a series of sub-influences were explored, looking at the direction of travel, whether participants were travelling in the up or down direction, whether they were familiar or unfamiliar with a building, whether they were travelling through a business or leisure activity, and whether they were travelling according to being under some kind of time pressure or not. And the key question we asked in each of these sections was, what is the maximum number of floors you would consider walking on the stairs before you elected to use a lift? And here participants could either respond that they would always use the lift, that they would always consider using the stairs, or they could state a finite distance they would be prepared to consider using the stairs before electing to use a lift. We've got an idea that if people are going to travel long distances, they're probably going to use the lift. However, we want to know the boundary floor, at which point they just won't even consider using the stairs. In the current presentation, we're focusing on the results obtained from our direction of travel and our scenarios. So, the first section was entitled Base Case, and this was used to compare with the preceding two sections. Here we noted that 87.8% of participants would always or sometimes consider using the stairs to travel down, and 84.2% to travel up. So this is actually quite a large proportion of people that would consider at some point using the stairs. On average, participants were prepared to walk 6.7 floors in the down direction and 4.7 floors in the up direction. And this represents about a 42.6% increase in the down direction. What's interesting to note, if we look beyond just the overall averages, is if we compare the question pairs of the down and up direction. Here we note that the majority of participants, 78%, said they would actually walk further in the down direction than in the up direction. However, 8.1% said they'd actually walk further in the up direction than in the down direction. 13.9% said they wouldn't change their answer. So this is quite interesting because it perhaps highlights that not everybody behaves the same way, despite the average figures suggesting some kind of normative behaviour. In the second section, participants were told that there was a queue in the lift waiting area, and they were asked the same series of questions as in the base case. Here we noticed that there was only a mild increase in the proportion of participants which would sometimes consider or always use the stairs in both directions. And there was only a mild increase in the distance travelled. So queues during circulations only appear to be a kind of minor deterrent to use a lift. In the third section, participants were told that they were travelling in a small group of between 2 and 4 people. Everybody in the group was had the same physical ability as the participant who was completing the survey. Here we noted that actually a decreased proportion of people would consider using the stairs when travelling in groups. And this is because a lot of people told us that if I'm travelling in a group, I won't even consider using the stairs. I'm just going to choose to use the lift during the circulation. Of those people which would consider using the stairs when travelling in a group, walk on average 5.3 floors in the down direction and 4.2 floors in the up direction. So they're clearly walking slightly less further than when travelling alone. Now,